Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here, for those of you in person, for those who may be joining us live streaming. This is a special meeting this afternoon because we are interviewing search firms for a new superintendent. Our current superintendent has decided to retire, and so we are embarking on the journey to find another one. And so today we will be hearing from two different search firms. And just to back up a little bit, the board has decided that we will go with a search firm as opposed to just handling the search from, within our own human resources, that type of thing. And the board decided on a committee that would go forward and bring recommendations to the board. And so that has taken place. It's Dr. Benitez and myself. And we brought forward recommendations to have a closer look at two firms, brought that to the board, and we voted on that. And so here we are today, listening to both firms and finding a good fit for both the firm and our district. And then also it is our expectation that as a board we will deliberate and make a decision. And Dr. Benitez, did you have anything to add?
I think you covered it. Just to affirm, so the expectation is that we make a decision at this special meeting after we hear from both firms.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the expectation.
Thank you.
Okay. Then I will ask our board secretary to take a roll call and establish a quorum.
Member Lopez.
Present.
Member Otto.
Here.
President Craighead.
Here.
Member Benitez.
Here.
And Vice President Miller.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. And then we have public testimony. And so do we have anybody to speak?
Yes, we have two speakers on the items on the agenda. And our first speaker is Dr. Kim Tabari, followed by Jerlene Tatum.
Good afternoon, board members, Superintendent Baker, Deputy Superintendent Brown, staff, community members watching, and in the gallery. I'm speaking on the only agenda item, item 5, Superintendent of School Search Process, that's a mouthful, search firm proposals and presentations. Transparency is a stated value of this board, particularly as you undertake the critical responsibility of selecting the next superintendent by July 2026. As a researcher myself, I understand the need for thoughtful planning and alignment for a work plan to move forward effectively. However, convening an emergency meeting with a single item at 1:30 on a weekday does not appear transparent or accessible, and many community members are deeply disappointed, so I'm not just here for myself. One of the central findings of the Black Student Achievement Initiative research is the need to overcome systemic barriers. This 1:30 meeting time functions as a systemic barrier, effectively excluding many parents and guardians from participating in a decision that will profoundly shape their child's educational future. Myself and a few committee members have reviewed the two search firms that are up for consideration today. While both present themselves as polished organizations on paper, working with a plethora of districts across California, there are multiple public critiques from some of the districts they have worked with. For example, one firm has been criticized for limiting or minimizing community input, one for bias in its process by overemphasizing internal candidates, and one for compromised communication with boards. So as you listen to the presentations for these two firms, I urge you to keep one word in the forefront: accountability. We must recruit a firm that is prepared to meaningfully and consistently engage with the community during this critical search process. Likewise, we must recruit an LBUSD leader who is willing to learn from our diverse communities. We need consistency and courage in the work for supporting Black and other marginalized students from top to bottom on every school campus. This moment represents a turning point towards belonging and care for our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker and last speaker is Jarlene Tatum.
Good afternoon, Jarlene Tatum. As you clarified in the opening of the meeting, that today is an action item. So although a committee was formed of 2 members, what about the other 3 members? Are they as literate on these consulting firms that you're bringing forth as the people from the committee? Today, traditionally, wouldn't you be receiving information and making a decision later? So all I ask is that you don't make a hasty decision today. The fact that only 2 consultant firms were brought forth, that's kind of problematic, especially when you are making a decision as great as you are making, that is going to basically be a decision that can continue the greatness of this district or deplete it. So again, I would ask that you do not take action today, that you receive your information as information, and expand, and maybe if necessary, even expand the vendors' possibilities. Otherwise, you could be making a terrible mistake and spending money in not the best of ways.
Thank you.
That concludes our public speakers.
Thank you. And so now we will proceed, and I believe we have members from Leadership Associates, so I will turn it over to you. Thank you for being here, and welcome.
Mr. Reel, just a point of clarification for our community members. So could you go over a process in terms of how much time each presentation will be?
Certainly. We have 2 hours set aside for the entirety of the meeting. We have talked to the both groups, and we're allotting approximately 30 minutes for the presentation, including questions from the board. I think they've been aware of the time frame that we have. And so we'll receive the information from Leadership's Associates, the presentation, in addition to the proposal that's in the materials. The board will be able to ask questions for clarification, any points of clarification. Following that, Leadership's Associates will leave, and we'll bring in the ESS group for the similar presentation with questions. Following that, the board will have an opportunity for a discussion amongst the board for an ultimate determination today.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, board members. I want to begin by expressing our thanks to all of the trustees for the opportunity to present our Leadership Associates search proposal. My name is Dr. David Verdugo. We're going to go through some introductions in a moment. But again, I would like to take the opportunity to introduce ourselves in a moment. But prior to moving to the next slide, I apologize. Prior to moving to the next slide, I did want to inform the board that Leadership Associates is the only silver affiliate search firm recognized by the California School Boards Association, and we think that's important as well. Let me go on in terms of introductions. I'm going to go ahead and begin with Dr. Peggy Lynch.
Hi.
Good afternoon, and thank you again for letting us be here. Peggy Lynch, I've been with Leadership Associates since 2009. Please don't calculate my age based on that. And I've been lucky enough to do about 100 or so searches over the years that I've been with Leadership Associates, and really enjoyed getting to know different districts and different cultures and organizations, and have learned a lot because of that opportunity.
We'll go next with Sandy.
And starting as a 22-year-old first-year teacher, would have never thought in a million years I would end up serving the last 14 of my 39 years as the superintendent, and I'm absolutely honored to be here and to hopefully support the Long Beach Unified School District. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Kent Beckler. I was superintendent in 3 districts, Duarte, a small, pretty diverse school district, pretty close to Pasadena. Walnut Valley. Walnut Valley is between Orange County and LA County, and then Corona Norco. I have been with Leadership Associates since 2012, and I've done over 100 searches. And this is probably one of the most important decisions. It's not probably, it is one of the most important decisions you'll make, and we're pleased to be a part of that. I promise you I move faster when I don't have to walk, and look forward to talking with you.
And once again, I'm David Verdugo, Senior Partner with Leadership Associates. I've been a Senior Partner now for approximately 10 years. I've completed over 70 searches. I am the former and retired superintendent right next door to Paramount Unified. I was there for 10 years as the superintendent. Following retirement, I was selected as the executive director of CALSA, the California Association of School Superintendents and Administrators. And then following that, I worked in Washington, D.C. for the ALAS group and the Leadership Academy director, where I mentored and coached aspiring superintendents across the nation. I've also been the interim superintendent in Pasadena, as well as Westminster. And again, just want to say thank you for the opportunity to present this afternoon. And let me do this. This is particularly an important slide. I believe it's critical because it displays the unique and outstanding key support personnel assigned to this particular search. The 3 ladies that you see on the top portion of that slide are all former executive assistants to superintendents accordingly. We provide highly qualified search support specialists assigned to each search, and we provide exceptional support throughout the search process, which includes on-call comprehensive support, personalized written guidelines, templates, sample checklists, different sorts of Brown Act assistance if need be, and prompt responsive communication. And I think it's really important to mention that we believe this kind of support will provide Ms. Avila and as well as your technical department tons of assistance as we go forward with this process should we be selected. We want to consider this slide as our why. We think this is particularly important in terms of our passion and dedication to public education. And certainly you can see there who we are, an active California education leaders committed to improving the quality of education for all California students. What we believe is that high quality education committed to providing an excellent and equitable education for all children is really the foundation of our democratic society. That quality leadership has a huge impact on the success of students and staff, and that every student and staff member deserves a passionate, caring, inspired leader focused on ensuring that all children receive the highest education possible. And what we value, and particularly important, is integrity, equity, excellence, diversity, inclusion, 2 words that were mentioned by the public speakers, accountability, and certainly transparency. And we understand that you deserve a great leader. The next is a little bit of a sample of some of the searches that we've been involved with most recently. In fact, over 750 searches have been conducted, a long and proud history of successful searches. Elk Grove is the 4th largest school district in the state. I just completed that search, as a matter of fact. ABC Unified, just down the freeway from you folks. We completed the San Diego County Office of Education superintendent search, Corona Norco, Santa Monica Malibu, as well as the California Collaborative for Educational Excellence, the CCEE, which Long Beach Unified has been a part of and a member of for many years, of course. This cycle represents the information and part of what we are instilling in this search. To begin with, it starts and it ends with the Board of Education. This is your search. The second portion that you see there in blue, should we be selected, following our initial meeting with the board, we would schedule and begin extensive personal as well as virtual meetings, outreach, and interviews with a wide variety of stakeholders. This would include district employees, educational partners, community leaders, parents, students, we want that student voice, teachers, classified associations, civic leaders. We provide a template to the Board of Education as a sample, and the board is welcome to add to that list of people that you'd like us to speak to, but maybe more importantly, who you'd like to invite to that process. We think that's particularly important. Included in that would be a survey available to the district in multiple languages as well. And we have found that to be an outstanding way of finding out the characteristics, the experiences, and the skill set that you desire most and that your stakeholders desire most in the next superintendent. Those languages are multiple, as I mentioned previously. Going on to that darker blue slide area, we would then utilize what we create in the terms of a position description with all of the stakeholder information that we compile. That would be approved by the Board of Education, and in turn, we would also provide an executive summary, almost like a WASC accreditation of what's being said about the characteristics that are desired in the next superintendent, the strengths of the school district, and maybe perhaps sometimes even more important, the challenges that the school district is facing. We would utilize that to recruit and advertise. We blast out to 1,500 subscribers what is open through our website. And it's that opportunity that we have to blast out that we have a national reach as well. You, no doubt, will have national interest in the superintendent's position here. So not only are we California savvy, but we do have that national reach as well. And then finally, that kind of a light brown section. Once our recruitment is completed, we present the top candidates for your consideration, the best match and fit. The board will receive all applications to review. And the board would select, and we would manage, of course, the interview process, all the steps and the next steps and processes that we would need to utilize there. But again, if I may, the board has the opportunity to read and see and ask us questions about any applicant that might be pulling papers. I just wanted to reemphasize that community engagement piece. Education partnership in sessions, input sessions, in person or online, via Zoom as well. Spanish-speaking consultants, online in multiple languages. Input forms, informs the position description and interview questions. Very often, when you have this executive summary of the position description, those are the things that you're most likely going to draw some of your questions from, and we would assist in that process. And of course, I mentioned the executive summary of the input accordingly. Sandy?
Thank you, David. Just want to reiterate how grateful we are for the opportunity to be here to share with you our work and our passion for this work. Many search firms have similar elements in their process. There are several factors that set Leadership Associates apart. One of the significant differences is that we are a team of partners who work very, very closely with each other to support one another in recruiting and vetting candidates who would be an excellent match for your district. We each have strong networks that collectively reach across the state and the country. We meet every other week via Zoom to discuss the specific needs of the districts we are serving, and we support each other in ensuring that we have a strong pool of candidates that have the particular experience and leadership style that your district desires. Additionally, we meet in person twice a year for 3 days to continually fine-tune our processes. As with any healthy organization that's committed to excellence, we have a robust collaborative culture that has allowed us to deliver exceptional service to the school districts we serve with great personalization. We believe this is one of the major reasons Leadership Associates has successfully led 65 to 80% of the superintendent searches in California, and we take every single one of them to heart to make sure that we give it our very, very best and then some. If selected, you will have David, Peggy, Kent, and myself, as well as Linda Harder, our office support specialist dedicated to you throughout the entire process. And you will have our entire team of partners who will assist us with recruiting and vetting. So one of the other things that sets us apart is our infrastructure, including our office support staff that will work very, very closely with your team to help guide and support along the way. Next slide, please. Each of our partners has continued their connection with one or more of these state and national educational organizations, which enhances our networking and recruiting abilities. Some of our partners support school districts outside of California, including Dr. Kent Beckler, who is here on the team. And the next slide, please. About 10 years ago, Leadership Associates expanded our work to not only provide quality executive searches, but also to support leaders and their school districts to ensure their long-term success. We currently support over 200 superintendents throughout the state through the Superintendent Leadership Series at no cost to their districts by partnering with county offices of education. LACO has been a long-term partner in supporting our Los Angeles County Superintendent Leadership Series. I co-led the SLS for several years for LA, Orange, and San Diego counties. The materials are top quality, but the collaboration among the superintendents has been most invaluable. There are many other executive leadership development offerings, as you can see on this slide: the Superintendent Leadership Networks, Aspiring Superintendent Series, Board and Cabinet Advisement Workshops, Strategic Visioning, Assistant Superintendent Leadership Networks, and our annual Summer Institute, which provides outstanding professional development and brings superintendents and other leaders together throughout the state. Each of these leadership development offerings has strengthened the skill set of the leaders who have taken on these most challenging roles. Although providing support to leaders across the state is our purpose with executive leadership development work, we also get to know leaders who could be possible superintendent candidates for the districts we serve. Next slide, please. It's important that we have our team of 4, plus the backup of our entire team of partners, as the work of recruiting and vetting is labor-intensive. We pre-screen and speak with every applicant. We call the references the candidates that the candidates provide, and we reach out to others who our partners know, who would know that applicant's level of success and leadership style. We want to make sure that we bring to you candidates that are well vetted. We ensure credentials are verified and the AB 250 2534 disclosure is completed. We provide all board members with the full application materials for all applicants. We will tier the applicants into 3 categories to assist the board in the review of the applications. Those candidates who have limited experience or who have poor references will be placed in tier 3. Those who have the appropriate professional experience and good references will be placed in tier 2. Those who have breadth and depth of experience and excellent references will be placed in tier 1. This allows the board to focus their attention in more closely reviewing application materials for tier 1 and 2 candidates. We will provide those recommendations, but it is completely up to you to make the choices to who you would like to interview. Each applicant will have 3 letters of references included in their application materials. During a closed session board meeting, we will review the information we obtain from all of those reference calls on the applicants. You will be provided with interview materials, including draft interview questions for your approval. The interview questions will incorporate the themes that we hear from the community engagement that will be extensive and will be decided upon by you as to which groups that we will speak to. Our team will provide support to you throughout the interviews. We'll also provide salary comparisons. We'll assist you with the contract for the finalist. This timeline is a draft. It's important, very, very important, to not rush the process. We absolutely commit to you to have a quality process with an outstanding outcome. If the board would like to extend the timeline, we are absolutely happy to do so. As you can see, the process will start with an initial meeting with the board to hear what characteristics, skills, and qualities you most value in your leader. We will seek the same input from all the staff, student, parent, and community groups that you identify for us to contact. This input is critical for our recruiting processes. At this initial board meeting, the timeline will be discussed and adjusted to meet the needs of Long Beach Unified. Recruiting of candidates will follow the community engagement portion of the process. Extensive vetting of all applicants will then be conducted. As mentioned, our team will share with the board in closed session the information obtained from all of those references as we review all applicants. The board will then decide which candidates you would like to select for an interview. We will contact all those applicants to let them know whether or not they've been invited for an interview. We are absolutely dedicated to partner with you to recruit experienced, high-quality leaders. We will provide you with the broadest and deepest pool of quality candidates. As David mentioned, we have over 1,500 subscribers to our website who are leaders throughout the state who will receive instant notification of the opening if we are selected to serve you. We are committed to serving the diverse needs of your students. In 2024, 66% of those selected to lead were women or leaders of color. We are California-based with a track record of success with over 750 very successful searches, and we have placed more national candidates than any other firm. The four of us are partners that would serve you, and we are backed by the entire team of our Leadership Associates partners. We have vested interest in your success. We are experienced and successful superintendents who remain actively engaged in California public education. Over 85% of the superintendents selected have remained in the position for more than 5 years. Our fee is very flexible. We are looking forward to talking with you about that. We are, again, just want to emphasize that that fee is very flexible. It's all-inclusive and reflective of the top quality process and the outcome that we promise you will receive. And we also provide a 2-year guarantee. When we each retired from our superintendencies, we did not lose the passion for this work. It drives us still. We believe deeply that all kids deserve a premium education and the support and the care that they need to ensure their success. We're 100% dedicated to serve you and Long Beach Unified School District. We want to thank you so much for your time, and we are looking forward to answering any questions you may have, and thank you again.
Thank you. Dr. Benitez, would you like to start us out?
Sure. Thank you for the presentation. That's a lot to cover in a short time span. So appreciate the clarity and the conciseness. I just have 2 follow-up questions. So at several points, you referenced the importance of community engagement. And for our district, specifically authentic community engagement. And so again, we can go into as much detail, but really I want to provide a context here that our district's done a lot of work and we're not there yet in terms of not just who we engage, which you listed some potential stakeholders that we could involve in addition to whoever else we identify. But as important, if not more important, is how we engage with our stakeholders, community members, students, and then what we engage them about. And again, we're not there yet as a district, but certainly that's the culture that we're trying to uplift in the context of equity and inclusion. The second piece is the very communities that we are trying to authentically engage with are experiencing some big challenges right now. Many of our communities are under attack. Many of our communities that have been most underserved, that has heightened with the current political climate and context. Last point of context here I would share, and I'll get to the community engagement question. But I think it's important, right, that whoever we decide to contract for this very important decision needs to be not just keenly aware, but needs to uphold these values that we have here as a district that we've worked really hard on. The third context is we're a district that has only had 3 superintendents in about 35 years, right, which is rare for any district, but in this case for a large, urban, very diverse. So with that in mind, how do you see community engagement? Not just being an add-on or a check-off through this process, so that community truly feels vested, but that then not just in the process, that we get the best candidate that is anchored in these pillars. And I don't think it's an either or. I think you have to have authentic community engagement in order to then ultimately make the decision about who we want to bring in and what that entails.
Same values. So we're completely in sync in that. As superintendents, we deeply valued community engagement. It was really the core of our work to ensure that all of the parents, the student staff, community members understood that we were serving them and that we needed to hear their voices. So in that first step of community engagement, we will look to the board to direct us as to which groups you want us to connect with. And then we will provide multiple avenues for them to be able to share their thoughts and their voices. Some people don't, it's just too inconvenient for them to come to a meeting. They would prefer to meet via Zoom so they don't have to worry about childcare. Or we work real closely with the district and provide childcare if they want to come to a meeting. So there are multiple avenues, Zoom meetings and in-person meetings, focus groups. We also do an online survey, so we want to make sure that there's not one voice that is left out. So we will do whatever it takes. We'll meet in communities. We won't make everybody to come to the board, to the district office. We will go wherever we need to go to ensure that everyone understands that it is an absolutely authentic process and that their voices absolutely matter.
I would make one further comment. I was recently with a school board, and they said to me, Kent, we do parent engagement, not parent involvement. Do you know the difference? And so we talked a little bit about parent involvement is more traditional, help with running things off, a task that the teacher may not want to do or may not have time to do. Parent engagement is parents sit at the table and they're involved in the decision-making process. They have a voice, and they want their voice to be heard.
Thank you. Just one follow-up, and then so thank you for that, and I guess part of what I think I'm hearing is one confirmation is that you're open to working with our board in whatever way best connects and anchors how we view community engagement.
Real quickly, I think it also benefits, there's 4 of us, and so we're flexible in terms of how that works over a period of time. We want to make it realistic time frame, but also giving everybody the opportunity they need to have.
Yep. Second question I'll have, and this will maybe test how much you know about Long Beach and what research you've done. So in the last couple of years, we've transitioned to a framework around a student outcomes focused governance with board goals, board guardrails. I won't give away the answers. In your experience, given that you've done so much work and been involved in so many searches, what do you think is the magic sauce here in Long Beach? And I think more importantly for me right now is, what do you think will be our biggest challenge, given who we are as a district, good, bad, and ugly, given that we've only had 3 superintendents in 35 years, and given what I just shared about community engagement and this transition to student outcomes focused framework?
Well, I would begin to answer that, Dr. Benitez, by the fact that you understand what your challenges are. You recognize what those are currently, whether those are fiscal concerns, whether it's declining enrollment, whether it's recruiting and retaining. There's a wide variety of things that might be on that laundry list. To answer the question, though, with regards to the immediate future, you folks have done that. I think it is Vision 2035. I don't know of too many districts that have extended themselves, their goals, and those guardrails as you folks have accordingly. Under the leadership of Dr. Baker, under the leadership of Chris or Carl, for example. And of course, maybe I'm a little bit connected in the fact that I was right next door in Paramount for 10 years. And as a result, I was often calling Chris and asking him what might be the next innovative idea or thought about what might be taking place. But I think that that reputation also is extremely important. You folks are Broad recipients. What is it again? Vision 2035. Over 10,000 employees, it's my understanding. That's a tremendous job, and it speaks volumes about what you've done since 1885, I think it is. Tremendous history, and it's recognized. I just a little bit of a personal story. I grew up in Pico Rivera and went to El Rancho High School. I can remember playing Pauley, El Rancho versus Pauley in Vets Stadium in 1968, and Lakewood as well. And so that was a tremendous understanding, even back then, to what Long Beach was all about on a more personal basis, and of course later on a professional basis as well.
How'd that game end?
We beat Lakewood. I fumbled and we lost to Pauley.
I think the other thing you have, obviously, is the stability of your leadership. The fact that you have had so few superintendents over that period of time is very unique. And there's a certain level from, if I were a candidate, that I would say, I'm going into a system that's stable. Everybody has challenges. There isn't a district that we've dealt with that doesn't have fiscal and declining enrollment are pretty common right now. And so I think it's also that says a lot about the community and their expectations to have that kind of stability over that many years. And that's a real bonus in my view.
Yeah. So my question is centered around one of the comments that were shared earlier about that tiered approach, right, of candidates. Now, it is no secret on how organizations our size or outside of the city of Long Beach go about the 3 tiers. That is something that all companies who are going about it in a equitable approach take that approach. So I appreciate you giving some clarity there. I think the piece that is going to be tricky, though, from a Long Beach standpoint, all due respect, I'm not just saying this because I'm sitting here at this table. We are one of the greatest cities in Southern California. I think that we have one of the best public school systems, and I think that that is well known not just in LA County, but I think in our state. To that, I think that finding quality candidates isn't going to be our biggest hurdle. I think that hundreds of people are going to want to apply to this opportunity to be a part of the historic Long Beach Unified School District. But eventually, we're going to have to get to a point where you're going to provide us who you're considering the top candidates are. You obviously have already shared that tiered approach. I really wanted to hear more about kind of like the rationale that will be used to giving us your suggested top candidacy.
Well, I would say that a couple things. One, the tiered approach helps you to sort of focus, but we don't just tier lightly. And you're still going to see there. I have worked with search firms over the years who have not let the board see all candidates. You're going to see every candidate. You're going to know about every one of them. And I think that's really important. What we typically do in trying to decide on the tiers, if you will, is to really think about that profile that you've helped us develop, that the community's helped us develop, that says these people have these things that match what you're looking for. I'll give you an example. We were at a meeting last night. We had 37 applicants for a fairly small district in the state, and they had 37 applicants. There were people who were principals applying for the superintendency. They're not going to be your top tier candidate. They probably don't have the level of experience. So we're really looking with our relationships around the state at when we look at the candidates, how do they match all the things you've asked us for? No candidate's going to have everything, probably. That's pretty unusual. It's always hopeful. But it's really going to be, as you review them, thinking about, there may be, if we do tier 1 and a tier 1A, let's pick a thing, but tier 1A people are great, but they might not have this. So, and we'll help you walk through that understanding as you look through all the applications. A candidate in a K-8 district who's a candidate who has no elementary experience is probably not going to be a tier 1 because they don't have that part. So we're really looking at the things that you all help us decide on are the important criteria to think about those tiers. You're going to see everybody, and if there are hundreds, you're going to have a lot of reading to do. So I will say that part. but does that help?
Absolutely, thank you.
I might add, however, that as a result of the number of searches that we do on an annual basis, this is going to sound a little assertive, but I think it's an important point to make out, and that is we know who has baggage. We know who perhaps has not done a reputable job accordingly. And then the other thing, if I may, is that we speak to every applicant. We actually call them up, speak to them, perhaps have a Zoom, and talk a little bit more about that match and fit. Is it the right match and fit? Is it, according to what your position description? That's particularly important. The personal experiences, the professional experiences, the characteristics that you're seeking, the skill sets.
And their leadership style. They've got to be really up to the task of leading Long Beach Unified. And we want to just agree 1,000,000% with your comments about the respect that people have throughout the entire state. And I would add beyond for Long Beach Unified. It is absolutely remarkable to have the stability of leadership that you've had, especially in a large urban. It's highly, highly unusual and such a beautiful tribute to Long Beach Unified.
So I'm glad to hear that we would have access to all of the applicants. That's super important. And the survey that you would be conducting, would that be by your firm or through the district? Because hopefully by your firm. And would those results be made public so that stakeholders, our parents can read through those? And then also, so it's clear, people in the district, could there be bias in like the work that you're doing, given that you may have some folks in the district that you may know?
Well, I'll try, Mrs. Lopez, to answer that regarding the survey. It's an instrument that we've used and has been proven to us to be really quite specific in terms of asking not only the Board of Education, but also your stakeholders the same questions accordingly. Here again, characteristics, strengths, challenges, and other opportunities to answer on that survey. The survey is provided typically by us, of course. In Long Beach's case, it could be run for 2 or 3 weeks. We monitor that so that we want to assure that we're having enough people respond to the survey accordingly. That survey is on your website as well, but we would go beyond that and suggest that there might be other avenues to obtain that information. So for example, your city hall might have the opportunity or the option to put that survey so that you multiply the number of people responding. We've recently come into an opportunity where to expand that survey to your stakeholders, you most likely have a social media opportunity within Long Beach, whether it's Facebook or Instagram. And so we've been able to attach that survey to those instruments as well. And then lastly, that survey is broken down, and we want to know, is it a volunteer? Is it a student? Is it a parent? Is it a teacher? Is it a classified employee? So that gives you even more insight on what might be requested in the next superintendent. But again, all of that is compiled into the executive summary, which is available to the board and to your public as well. Anything?
I was just going to say this, when we finish all of that, you're going to get all the survey results. You'll see it's voluminous. There's a lot to read on it, but you'll get also all the input. So as we have individual sessions with community groups or teacher leaders or whatever it might be, we get all those notes. You're going to get all of those documents as well. So you get all the survey results, the document itself, plus the executive summary that we've written that sort of pulls that all together. I do think that you asked another question and I just lost my mind on that part, but I think that we want to be sure, as far as making it public, that's really a decision the board makes. Because you have communication tools that you use to broadcast that information to your community, so it's up to you. But the executive summary, as we initially write, is really directed to the board because it's a summary of all of it, but how you use it is up to you.
And if I may, we would provide, at the end of the search process or during the search process, a 90-day plan as well for the new superintendent to be able to utilize. That is important in that it's always done in conjunction with the Board of Education. And so to have your new superintendent have privy or be privy to that information really certainly could help accordingly in that transition, regardless of who it is.
The second part was if you knew folks, it sounds like you might know some of the folks here in the district, and could that potentially bring some bias, right, into the decision making as to who gets put into a pile of your first tier, second, and third?
No, absolutely not. You know, that bias does not exist amongst us as partners. And I think part of that communication amongst us as partners clearly indicates that we don't have a pool. This has to be the right match and fit. We're not seeking somebody in particular as a result of relationships or networking that we may have had with anybody inside or outside Long Beach Unified.
So
Actually,
earlier,
can I just ask one more question? Can you give us an example of a recent search you conducted where you may have been criticized by the board, and maybe what you learned from that, or what would be different here?
Ms. Lopez, I honestly and authentically and genuinely cannot recall any board that we've worked with who's had either criticism or derogatory comments. In fact, we pride ourselves in our proposal information on providing you a wider variety of examples of who we've worked with accordingly. Go ahead.
I think the other thing is if you were to look at some of the things, for example, one of the districts up there was that we listed was Santa Monica, Malibu. We've done the search 3 times for Santa Monica, Malibu. I've done it 3 times in another district in Northern California because they know our work. And I think the fact that we get invited back and continue to do work with school districts says a lot about, one, we take it very serious. We really care about it. We want great leaders. But also we work really hard to be good partners. We think that's a critical part.
Dr. Benitez?
So, I forget who just responded something about the pool here. It made me think of another question.
Yes.
So how do we ensure, and I think the data point that you all shared was 66% of your successful searches are either people of color and or women. How do we ensure that we also hire someone that reflects our values around equity, diversity, and inclusion? So can you talk a little bit about how we ensure an equitable pool of candidates?
Sandy, you want?
Certainly. Well, it's a value that we hold very dearly, as does Long Beach Unified. So we recruit, and with regard to relationships, because all of us have been long-serving superintendents and still very highly engaged in educational organizations across the state, we have relationships with. We had relationships with your last 3, with Dr. Baker and Dr. Seinhauser and Dr. Cohen. So we have those relationships up and down the state. And if I have you think back to the slide about the executive leadership development work that we do, that's incredibly extensive work. So we have the resources to have been connected with lots of different leaders, and we can see them. We work with them month after month after month, so we can see what they're really like, how they interact with their colleagues. And we go after those, women and leaders of color. There's not enough in the superintendency. It's still a very white male-dominated profession, although 75% of the teaching force is made up of women. But we also look at, most importantly, quality. If somebody is a white male and they happen to be an outrageously accomplished leader who also has exuded all of the values that are in perfect sync with Long Beach Unified, that we wouldn't count them out. Certainly we're not going to count anybody out. That is up to you. It's up to the board to count anybody out. We're just supporting you, facilitating the process, making it easier for you, ensuring top quality. But the recruiting effort, there's 2 pieces of the entire process that are outrageously labor intensive. Community engagement, to do it exactly the way the board wants it to be done, and also the recruiting and the vetting. And that's what really produces a quality process and a quality outcome.
One other thing, there are 3 different groups or organizations that are focused on training superintendents or putting them through a process so that they're a little better prepared than they might otherwise be. What we're seeing is that there are fewer candidates for major school districts, and the fact that we're able to assist in that process is something that is really vital for us. Of the 5 largest school districts in the last year, all 5 have hired women, all 5 have hired women of color, and all 5 of the women went through one of our training sessions for a superintendent. And so that's new because historically, large school districts would receive experienced superintendents. These boards had the experienced superintendents, but they also had these newer candidates. And all 5 chose women of color.
Thank you. Mr. Otto?
Thanks for being interested in our district. At one point, and I'd like your response to that, and then a separate question. Superintendents, it seems to me, to a lot of people, are undergoing a lot of challenges now. It's the world of K through 12 education or TK through 12 education is very different than it used to be. How do you incorporate the thinking about that into what it is that you do? That's the first question.
It's always been a very, very challenging role, but more so now than ever. Post-COVID, the financial implications, declining enrollment, the political polarization, the federal agencies coming into communities, causing a lot of chaos and angst and fear. I mean, all of those things wrap up into an incredibly challenging role, on top of what it takes to ensure that every single student is served well and provided this kind of support that they need. So part of what we do in the executive leadership development is prepare for that. Prepare for exactly what's happening right now and the chaos that's impacting public education. So we're working very, very hard on that. We work very closely with national researchers and state leaders around those topics, so that way we can provide very relevant training and support to leaders, assistant superintendents, and superintendents to try to have them help them to navigate these especially challenging times.
I think the other thing I would say is we stay with you. When the search is over and you've hired, we don't say bye, we're out of here. We stay to be available to the superintendent to help the adjustment. We're going to want to make sure that we can coach or support during that first year in particular. It is a hard job. There's no question. It is. As I look back on when I was a superintendent and I was 14 years in 2 different districts, it was way different than it is now. It really is. And I think part of it is, how do we as former superintendents support people to manage this role well? And how do we work with boards to help them support the superintendent? Because that's pretty critical. They try to be on that same wavelength so that you're supporting each other is a part of what we need to do throughout the process and after.
And the specific question that I have is the timeline on this search is a rocket ship. That we've talked about trying to get this done by June, 1st of July or so. I can't imagine, with everything that you're talking about and all the things that need to get done, how do you handle that?
It's critical to not rush the process.
And we were, when we did the timeline, it's a draft, because the timeline that's not finished until we work with the board, because we were aware that Dr. Baker had announced her retirement, so we put it in a time frame of, you'd like to have somebody start when she's ready to leave, but it is totally flexible and it needs to meet your needs, and we're okay with that. We don't want to rush it and feel like you haven't had time to make the right decision. That would be bad for us and not good for you. So,
okay, thank you.
Thank you. And actually, we're out of time. And I was going to say, speaking of timelines, we only have 2 hours dedicated to this process, and we need time to interview the second group. No, because we have to have a transition time. So I want to thank you for being here today. Thank you for giving your time. And we will be considering our decision, and we'll let you know as soon as possible.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. And we will take a short pause as the leadership associates leave and we bring in the next group. Just a short pause. Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving your time. And we are ready for your presentation.
Well, thank you. Good afternoon, trustees and staff. Thank you for having us today. I am Suzette Lovely, and we are with Education Support Services Group, and we're excited to be able to share with you a little bit about our search process, a little bit about ourselves, and tell you more about who we are and give you an opportunity also to ask us some questions. You have our proposals, so we're not going to go through all of this and repeat what's in our proposals that you've already seen. Our bios are in our proposal, but just a couple of key points that we want to share with you today about ourselves. We're all former superintendents. We just call it rewired, not retired. This is what happens to us. So here we are. And because we love this work and we want to pay it forward, of course, to education. But joining me is Dr. Lillian Maldonado French, and you'll see from her bio, she spent 17 years as a superintendent in both Los Nietos and Mountain View school districts in Los Angeles County. And Stephen Keller spent 16 years as superintendent in Redondo Beach, both in Los Angeles County. I'm retired superintendent from Carlsbad. That's where I most recently worked. But I spent the majority of my career in Capistrano Unified, another large school district that has some similarities to Long Beach as far as multiple campuses, multiple communities that are served, and a lot of similarities with some of the priorities and such. So we all have experiences in different places, but we work together to bring those experiences to a district that we are serving, so we can represent various areas. One thing that I will also share, and they're going to tell you more about themselves when they actually speak. The best thing that I do now in post-retirement work is I volunteer, and I volunteer twice a month at St. Mary's Hospital and the Care Clinic at their food pantry. And that's the most furthest thing from education that you can be doing, and it's a real joy, so I love that work as well. We know you have two firms. We know the other firm well. We work with them and see them, of course, in our circles, and so we're aware of their process and the things that they offer. So rather than just repeat what we do that's the same, what we're going to do is just highlight for you some of the differences so that maybe you can see what one firm offers that another firm necessarily doesn't. So I'm going to talk about the differentiators for us at ESS. We are a smaller firm as far as the number of searches that we do each year. The larger firm that you met with previously, they do about maybe 35% of the searches in California. We do about maybe 10%. We do 5 to 10 searches a year. We like to say that we're concierge level. That allows us to spend more time with each district. We have a philosophy at ESS, which is, better, not bigger. We're not aiming to be the largest firm. So we spend time with fewer number of clients at each year. Our practice in the firm is not to do none of our consultants do more than 2 searches at a time, and they're staggered timing-wise, and no one leads more than 1 search at a time so that we can really be available to the boards and trustees. We also, another differentiator for us is our unsurpassed retention rates. We're proud of our retention rates. We actually list for you every search that we've done since 2017. You'll see it in your packet, and the amount of time that the individuals have stayed in that position, the longevity there. It's important for boards to keep and this is a history in Long Beach, keeping your superintendents for the long term. You don't want to be doing this over and over again. Also, our candidates come from a wide range of representative groups, and when we include women in our number of hires, our diversity is at about 79%. That's also in our proposal, so people that represent diverse placements in the superintendency. And we have connections across the state, but we don't maintain a stable of candidates. So every time we do a search, we start over. We don't just pull in candidates that maybe were in a prior search, because it's so unique and different for every organization that we work with. We are affiliated with the law firm Adkinson, Andelson, Loya, Rude, and Romo, and the firm is not involved in our search process, but they can provide us. What's great is you do have your own general counsel here in the district, but the firm can also provide us with some legal information and support if we need that, if we have questions during a focus group or something. We've done that before and called upon them, and it's not a charge to the district. And then finally, we also conduct very rigorous third-party background checks. We actually use a third-party firm. We don't just Google people. We use a third-party firm called Nation Search, and I don't know if trustees are aware or not, but there were recent headlines this past summer in Des Moines, Iowa School District, which raised concerns about the background and the integrity of the existing superintendent and the selected superintendent's personal and professional history. And it's ultimately led to a lawsuit, and not good for the school district. We're proud to say we have always been using a third-party firm to do intensive background vetting before the candidates are interviewed. We have a saying at ESS, no board member likes a surprise party. So you can see on the slide all of the things that our background checks involve relative to multi-jurisdictional searches and things like that. And so if someone's lived in more than one state, they'll check that information and that history, as well as financial background, like bankruptcies and those kinds of things. And then we also use an outside third-party social media analyst. We're not very good. We can Google, but not like a social media analyst can. So we also do intensive vetting on our applicants relative to their reputational and online history. So the best thing really we think that talks about our differences or our differentiators comes from our clients. Here's a recent, we did the Riverside search when was that, Stephen? The last 6 months ago? Yeah. So the board president in Riverside Unified just talked about our meeting their needs and also how we involve the community, and we'll talk a little bit more about how we actually do that in our processes. But we like the testimonials there. They say it best. Trustees really do appreciate what we bring to the table. And the best way really for us to distinguish what sets us apart from the other search firms is to consider 2 great companies. You have them, I think you have 3 Trader Joe's in Long Beach and at least 2 Costco's. They're really good. Both of them are great companies. They're highly successful at what they do. They have loyal followings, and most of us, probably in this room, shop at both. But each store offers a very different customer experience, and so that's what we're about, is that customer experience here at ESS. So when you shop at Costco, we're usually there because of the prices. Maybe we like to buy in bulk. There aren't as many product options, and it's a more standardized shopping experience. And if you're trying to get your steps in, you can get 145,000 steps in one little shopping time. But those of us that, want a different experience when we do, we shop at Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's, we're there maybe more for the novel choices, less stressful environment. There's not so many people, so many big things. And employees also have time to talk to us. A lot of the employees, if you go to the same Trader Joe's, they may even know your name and say, hey, here's what we have that's new today, which products are great. So we consider ESS the Trader Joe's of search firms. Our clients appreciate our responsiveness, our smaller size, our high touch points, and no membership is required. So that's the way to summarize our differences. I'm going to turn it over to Stephen, who's going to get into our process itself.
I may need my glasses. Hi, I'm Stephen. Nice to meet you all. I'm a retired superintendent, been retired for 3 years, been working with ESS since my retirement. I was superintendent in the Redondo Beach Unified School District, not far from here, for 16 and a half years, long time. Loved my job. Retired happy in spite of the experience of COVID. And what I like to share with boards, especially working with Lillian, is Lillian and I have recency experiences. So we went through the Great Recession together as superintendents in LA County. And we also closed schools, one of the worst days of our lives. And one of our best days of our lives, reopened schools. And so we have that recency. We know a lot of the people that are going to be excited about this position. We've worked near them, alongside them. We know about them. So I do think, as well as Suzette's experience as a superintendent and doing so many more searches than us as we start our new career in our afterlife, I think that adds a breadth of, just rarity in having Lillian and I doing the search for Long Beach. So just keep that in mind. I think it is a value added is probably the best way to say it. But excited to be here. At ESS, what we like to do is we like to follow the EAST process. This is the bread and butter of the process. So this is the kind of boring part of the show. So, but I think it's the meatiest part of the show. So please follow along. First of all, educational input from your community, your larger educational community, is probably one of the most important pieces of this process. Listening to what they have to share about what they're looking for in your next superintendent, what they like about the district, what they'd like to see more of, and maybe some of their concerns. That's part of this process, and I'll go into that a little bit more in a minute. And basically what that does, it creates what we call the leadership profile. The leadership profile basically tells you, the board and the community, this is what we're looking for. After we validate, listen to the themes and trends of your community, your educational community, we created this leadership profile that provides you a few pieces of information. A, it shows you what you're looking for. 2 is it helps you create your interview questions for your first round because you want to align those questions to the leadership profile. And it's a great starting point and filtering point for us as search consultants to determine who may be a best match for you to consider. And at the same time, it's a good head start for the new superintendent to follow the leadership profile and all that he or she has learned to have a great first year. The A in activation phase is the job posting. And obviously we post this, Adjournment is a national publication. Everybody goes there for a job. So we're quite aware of Long Beach Unified, but at the same time, there's going to be plenty of people in California. So we have the California covered and we have the national covered. The candidate, hello, I need my glasses, outreach. We certainly know, as I shared, our recency of knowing plenty of people in this field and knowing people who are making a difference for kids and communities. And then the search background of Suzette really does help us. But I think there are a lot of people watching right now that are looking forward to this posting and looking to see who's doing the search. Screening, and I'm going to put my glasses on. I cannot believe I need my glasses right now. What is the second word? I'm sorry, my glasses are for nearsighted.
Screening and
blind appraisals. Wow. So screening, don't go there. For screening, one of the things I really like to share is the three of us appear as nice people. We are very nice people. You'll get to meet Lily in a minute. She is one of the kindest people you'll meet. But what you don't know about us is we're tenacious. We know who to call. We know who not to call, when we're doing assessments on candidates. This is very important because we all know there's people that will speak highly of anybody that they're asked about. And so what we like to do is call the people that your candidates are not necessarily speaking with to ensure we're getting the truth about each candidate. So that due diligence is very, very important. The S in selection, the selection phase, is thank you very much. I'm going to do it here. I am so sorry. The determinant of the candidate slate, we put the candidate pool in three slates, three levels. And level one would be the people who really do match the leadership profile, which I talked about, which is really who you're looking for. And they also have great reference checks, and everything has worked out for them in the way of the third-party background search. Level two would be for folks that maybe have pretty good reference checks, but their leadership profile match is pretty good. And then level three is everyone else. I'll leave it at that. You will determine whether they're in level one or level two or level three. You will determine who is interviewed. We just give you the information to make the most objective, the most decision based on all the information you have. We don't act as your 6th, 7th, and 8th board member. That is your job, but we do act as your due diligence behind the scenes hunters for information. Very important. We told you about our third-party background check that we pay for. It's baked into our proposal. As well as the social media review. Everyone has a digital footprint these days, even I do, even though I'm not the biggest social media person, but ensuring that you have that information is very important, and we do that on the front side. And then if you would like, there's a whole mixed review on this, a validation visit to the top candidate, if it's obviously somebody from the outside. We do offer that validation visit. There's many ways to do it. I have yet to do one in my 6 searches I've done, but I know eventually we will. I had it done to me when I became a superintendent, so we're well aware, well equipped to make that happen. And the last piece of the search process is the transition, and that's when we would meet with the board and the new superintendent, using the leadership profile to kind of guide us in this new pursuit and ensuring we're all on the same page moving forward together. And then we are, part of our proposal is we are assigned a mentor thought partner for the first 2 years of your time, of his or her time here in Long Beach. Hopefully I do this right. Top one? Sorry. Thank you. So let me just break down for a second the stakeholder input. Very important. Focus groups. We know the focus groups typically boards want. Focus groups are the entire community, whether they're in person or virtual. We will conduct those. Those are in your proposal. Other focus groups you may have are meeting with your labor partners. We've done plenty of those. We do them every time. We may meet with your PTA, your Ed Foundation, whomever you would like us to meet with that may not be on that traditional list, we will meet with. We meet with individuals. We'll meet with each of you individually as board members. We'll meet with your cabinet individually. If you want us to meet also with your police chief, your fire chief, your city council folks, whomever is important to you, we will meet. Some of your nonprofit folks, we will meet with them as well. Every district's a little different. There is no one size fits all for us. We will adjust to your needs and your values, no doubt about it. We also have an ongoing online survey that if people can't make one of these meetings, the survey really focuses on the same questions we're going to ask everyone. And at the bottom right there, you'll see the leadership profile report. It basically asks 3 questions to everyone. And by the way, students included, especially students, will be part of this process. And ask the 3 questions. What are the strengths of Long Beach Unified? What are the challenges? And what are the specific leadership characteristics you would like to see in this new person? And that's what goes into the leadership profile that really makes for a unique candidate targeted search for Long Beach Unified. So that kind of covers the meat and potatoes of it all, and I'm going to have Lillian share a little bit more about us.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Lillian Maldonado-French. I've had the pleasure of being a superintendent for 38 years. And my first 19 years, I began my career as a bilingual teacher in Santa Ana Unified. Went in Santa Ana from teacher through various positions, left as a director of curriculum and instruction. And then the next 19 years I was here in LA County. 17 of those I was superintendent in 2 different districts. So a lot of experience and a lot of working close and near Long Beach Unified. Most recently, by the way, retired as superintendent of Mountain View School District. So, you know, we already shared that we're a smaller firm. So how is it that we're able to recruit such a diverse group of candidates for our searches? So one thing to know is that in addition to the 30-plus family ESS members that you see there, we're also affiliated with AALRR's Ed Law Practice Group. And they reach out and they're part of 450 school districts throughout the state. And in addition to that, we're in touch and we're affiliated with many, many national and state organizations in all the alphabet soup: AXA, CALSA, CASA, CASBO. And in addition to that, we offer professional development and professional learning opportunities for current and for aspiring leaders. In fact, Suzette was the co-founder of the National Association of Aspiring Superintendents Academy. That's the national level. So all of that, what that does is it helps us really cast a very wide net in our research, our recruitment efforts. In fact, ESS networks and affiliations have led to a track record of our candidates really represent the face of California. And 79% of our placements come from diverse or underrepresented backgrounds. So we feel that we really do a good job at that. Now, this might be a familiar face to you, so some of you are Chris Brown. At ESS, we are very cognizant of how we treat our candidates. It's important to us that they feel truly supported throughout the process and make sure that, you know, for many of them, this is the most important process of their career. So we want to make sure that they're well cared for, taken care of. We treat them through every step of the process, guide them, and we treat them with confidentiality and professionalism so that, you know, we ensure a smooth transition. And again, as we mentioned, we'll be there for 2 years, making sure that new superintendent has a friendly ear to listen to, or that phone call they need to make before that important meeting. We're there for them, and we're there for you. Next slide. So, why Long Beach? You know, when we consider which districts we would like to choose to support and serve, we try to choose districts that stand out to us and that have those connections for us, where we are able to offer the most in terms of our expertise and our experience. And in Long Beach Unified, what stood out to us are 2 things: your rich diversity and your long-term unwavering commitment to all of your students. You know, some are from Bixby Knolls, some are from the west side, and they're all important to you. And looking at your strategic plan and reading your student and adult and system profiles and system portraits, you know, what I saw is that they're extremely ambitious, but striving for and working towards them is something that you've been working on for years. That's how you do your work. And your awards and accolades are really too many to mention, but you know, whether it's the Long Beach Promise or strategic plans that you have with your families or other innovative programs, what is consistent is that you beat the odds for kids. And you operate with integrity, equity, and social justice. So, bottom line for us, you are a world-class school district and you require a world-class superintendent. And we feel that we have the capacity and the ability to work with you and help you in that selection process. And it would be an honor to work with the Long Beach Unified. So thank you for this opportunity. We wish you the very best in this process, and now we would love to answer questions.
I
Well,
have a
thank
couple
you
of
for
questions.
that.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and start with questions. Ms. Lopez.
Do board members have access to all applicants with
Yes.
your firm?
Yes.
Yes, so we would have them, we'd get to see them all and move from there. Okay.
Yep, everything that comes with them, too. We don't screen anything out or have them fix things. You get them exactly as they're turned into us.
And then what voice do you give educators in this process? So we heard about students, but what voice do they have in this process, as well as our, like what role does the community play at each stage?
So educators and all groups are really the key part. You know, our process really focuses on voice and providing voice to all stakeholders in the community. So when we're talking about those focus groups, you're the ones who decide who are going to be in those focus groups. For some folks, it could be obviously your labor partners, but perhaps there are other groups for educators that are important as well. So you make those decisions about who they are. In addition to that, the online survey is really an important way to get a cross-reference of all stakeholders to the community. And I'm not sure if we mentioned this, but we also conduct community forums. So in addition to all we're saying, we have a community forum, anyone is welcome. So everyone is welcome. Typically those are in the evening, and then we do an additional one online. So we realize not everyone can get to a meeting. So we try to provide a real cross-reference and ways of connecting with the community, so to make sure everyone has a voice.
And do we get to see those results?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there are, the way the survey is formed, it has questions that are click, but the last one is just a written statement. And you get to see all of those.
Yeah, we just concluded one. It had 18 pages of open-ended comments.
So I asked this question earlier, so I think it's only fair to ask it again. And it was centered around the tiered approach of reviewing candidacy and the rationale centered around it. And so one of the points that I know is going to be important during this process is the number of candidates that we receive. I think that, and I've shared this earlier, I think that the Long Beach Unified School District is one of the most famed districts in Southern California, and I know that this is going to be a highly coveted opportunity for those that are qualified. So I anticipate that you all will receive just floods of applicants, of hopefully highly qualified applicants within this process. But to that, there will be tiers of candidates. And in all honesty, yes, if there are, I'm going to use a joking number here, 250 candidates, right? Obviously, we would want access to all of those, but in all honesty, part of your role, and obviously part of the role of the ad hoc committee here, is to screen through which would be those top candidates. I would love to hear a little bit about your rationale when it comes to helping districts like ourselves kind of screen through, or at least the rationale used during the screening process of top candidates.
Thank you, Trustee Miller, for that question. That we provide board members all of the application materials because we want you to see them, but it can be a very overwhelming task depending on the number of applicants. And so by us tiering them, the leadership profile really becomes the anchor for how we gauge candidates' experiences. You tell us their experiences that you want, but also the other things that you're looking for in that leadership profile, which are a lot of those soft skills. You know, people will have a foundational level of educational experience, and then what are those additional things that Long Beach needs? And so that helps us with our tiering. It's a rubric, basically, that we use once that leadership profile comes out, and you, the board, see it and accept it. You actually get it at a meeting like this and then accept it. And then we use that as our rubric, just like you would if you're looking for a principal position or an administrative position. You're gauging it against something, or a teaching position. So that's how we help with that tiering. But the pivotal part of that tiering, people can look really good on paper, and they do. We go deeper than that. And that helps us to understand what that person's, how they may be perceived in their current organization. Have they had some issues that could become uncovered later that you don't want to find about later? So we use that as part of our information as well. A lot of that comes from our formal references, but it comes from our blind appraisals too, because we have a lot of trust, and we can call people and say, this is off the record, but just share with us, would you hire this person again? Or, you know, the questions that we ask. And then we, for the board, if we get 200 applicants, you will be another award-winning district with another award, because we haven't had 200 applicants, I don't think, for any California superintendent positions recently. The average is about, right now we're doing Manhattan Beach search. I can tell you this because it is public now. I think there are about 28 applicants or so. It's not probably going to be over 50. So it won't be maybe as overwhelming as you think. But then what we do in our tiered table is we summarize it for you. So here are these 10 people that meet, they're in tier 1. They meet every qualification you want, and their references are stellar. Here's another 5 people that are in tier 2. And we give you just a bit of rationale because the meat of it comes from closed session when we review the candidate table together. So we chunk it for you because you're not going to be able to read through that much information, but you have it, you'll have it.
And just one thing, we've seen boards, plenty of boards, pick from tier 1, tier 2. I've even seen a tier 3 who turned out to be a great candidate, didn't get the job. But ultimately, that's the board's decision. That's your job. We just do our job on our end. And if you have clarifying questions in closed session specific to a candidate, we go out and get that information as objectively as we can.
Thank you for the presentation and for your interest in working with our district. So I know we don't have a lot of time here, President Craighead, so I'll try to combine 2 questions into one. I'm happy to repeat it if it's not as clear. So you referenced the 3 questions that you asked of all stakeholders right around this community input, community engagement process. And for us, the community engagement sort of thread is critical to whether it's our equity and excellence pillar and or just our work around community engagement. So I'm wondering if you could talk more about approach with these sort of 3 things in mind. One is that it's not, for us, it's not just about who is engaged, but how we're engaging and around what, right? And specifically, I'm thinking about that 3rd question, and I'm going to loosely summarize around what are those characteristics or qualities you're looking. Well, that really depends on who you're asking, right? And how that question is framed, right? And that can have different meaning to different stakeholder groups, and different stakeholder groups may be looking for different qualities and characteristics. So I'm using it, I won't say it as an example, Because the context here in Long Beach is we've had 3 superintendents for 35 years. And for all the good things that we're known for, we have some massive challenges in our district. Not unique to us, but certainly the context of Long Beach is unique, right? So could you speak more about the community engagement component, the approach, and how that doesn't just get thought of as a check off the list or an add-on through this process? Because at the end of the day, if not the most important, one of the most important decisions that we'll have to make is to make sure that we have the right candidate for this time in the context of our attacks of public education and our communities being under attack, but also the culture of the district around inclusion and equity and diversity in the midst of 3 superintendents serving this district over 35 years. So that's part A. I'll real quickly add the part B. And again, I'm happy to, it's the challenging times part of it, right? Not just for our district, but what do you see a district like ours, 5th largest in California, with all the research that you've done on our Vision 2035 strategic plan? What can you talk about what some of the challenges are going to be for us to find that best qualified candidate?
Do you want to go?
The first part?
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, and you're absolutely correct. Engagement, voice is critical because it validates this person. You want someone to come in who everyone feels that is the right person. We had our voice, we had a say. And when people feel that they had a say in what happens, it makes all the difference. So when you look at those 3 questions, and when I started doing this, I thought, well, 3 questions, how could that be enough? How could that give us the context and the understanding of what is needed? But surprisingly, it truly is, because the first question asks, what do you love about the district? What is outstanding? And that gives you context. That helps you understand what is the most important priorities for that group. And so we're doing focus groups by group. We're taking notes by group, so we're understanding and hearing group by group. And we're starting to put together trends and profiles of what it is. The next question is those challenges. And you're talking about what are those challenges that are facing us in the next 5 years. We're all dealing, up and down the state with the declining enrollment, difficulties with the economy, challenges with dealing with post-COVID, academics. And you're all doing well, but we still have a long ways to go. So, but combining that with the engagement, you're going to hear what those folks think are the challenges. And we phrase it in a way that we talk about what are those challenges that will be important for the new superintendent to know about. So it gives you more context based on the groups, based on who is saying that. And even the online survey says, I'm a teacher, I'm a parent, I'm an administrator. So you get more and more information, and you're able to cross-tab, if you like, that information. And then the third is, what are those characteristics? And surprisingly, even though it's very diverse groups, you do see trends, and you do get that picture. You want to talk about the last?
Can I just add one thing? It's perfect segue into it. Is I'm finishing up a search now where you talked about each group. Each group we went to, whether it was parents, PTA, labor partners, parents, you name it in the community, just police chief, whomever. Number one concern they have challenge in the district is communication. That is just a common word. So it is amazing those themes and trends you get throughout a leadership profile. They do come out remarkably well in each group, even though each group is a very different group within the community. And so those common themes do come out in every search I've done.
And it's a qualitative analysis. I think, Dr. Benitez, you work at Cal State Long Beach, so you know that when you're doing research, it's not always the quantitative data. You can get very rich data from qualitative studies, and we see that a lot. And there are themes and trends that emerge pretty quickly, interestingly enough. And it will be so helpful, though, to the board and to the incoming superintendent, because you haven't done an outside search for a long time. You've gotten your LCAP data, you've done those meetings and gotten input from folks for different arenas, but not specifically regarding their next leader. So we think it works pretty well, and those 3 questions give us pretty rich data. The second part of your question are what are the, it's challenging times for everyone. We did watch your last board meeting. You've got some declining enrollment is huge for everyone, but of course it's, when you have large districts and large enrollment, you have those dips that are significantly large as well. So for you, I think we heard $47.5 million in savings recommended going forward, but it's still not going to be enough. This is what we heard at your last board meeting, to meet the minimum reserves out 3 years out. So that's your biggest challenge. And subsequent to that, the enrollment is huge because all the COVID money now is finished, all the extra help that we've had for so many years. A second issue that we heard and listened to of Long Beach is, your underserved students, especially your African American students, are not meeting, the targets that you're hoping. So there are academic challenges, especially with subgroups, and the staff is working really hard and doing a lot of things, but it's something that the board and the staff needs to continue to do because this is such a great district for meeting the mark and meeting the grade, and you have all those honors that you've had being a positive outlier district and those things, but it's somehow, something is not enough, so that will be a challenge, and staff already sounds like they've got a lot of plans for how to address those things. So that's the second challenge. I think it'll be a challenge for someone new, assuming no one internal applies, but you have had 35 years, I think you said, of an internal superintendent, yeah, and that is such a positive thing. It shows what leadership development you have done in this district. You see Chris Brown, he's off somewhere else. Aaron Simon is off somewhere else. All your great assistant soups, people have left here to become superintendents because you do a great job of training them. So the challenge is going to be casting a wider net and finding someone that still can meet the Long Beach way, that is part of what this community and culture needs. So I would say, I think those 3, the fiscal, then some of the academic challenges. I know related to the fiscal is, having to potentially do some downsizing with your schools. I think you have 80 some campuses, right? 83 schools right now. That's a lot of schools. Again, not uncommon to what are happening in your neighboring districts. But those are tough decisions for school boards and staff going forward when you're downsizing.
I'd like to ask you a question that I asked the previous firm. If you could give us an example of a recent search you conducted that was criticized by the board. So what went wrong? What did you learn? And what would you do differently?
I don't think, have we had one? The search itself being criticized, Trustee Lopez, is that what you're saying? We've been really successful with our searches, and we've worked with divided boards. It's one of our boards in San Diego County, a high school district there. The board was very divided and came together on a 5-0 vote. They even voted for us as the search firm on a 3-2 vote. So we feel that's one thing that is very concierge about us, that we work with all trustees and we really try to help you come together, even if it's not a 5-0 vote. Sometimes we've had 4-1s. I can't think of any recent search recently. We've had one of our Orange County districts that's been through some turnover, but that's the board.
I don't know if it's a direct answer to your question, but I have self-criticism in particular, of a couple searches. The most difficult part of a search, I think, for me personally, is out-of-state candidates because we have such strong connections in California that we know people to call that will give us the skinny on candidates, good and bad. I think when we're looking at some candidates, I feel like we're missing a few solid out-of-state candidates because we just don't have the depth of their experience and their true character. And so maybe we're missing a few, and I've seen one sneak into a search that quite frankly should not have been there. So I think if there was a better way to filter that process for the good and not so good, I think is a self-criticism. So building that capacity for folks from out of state, because I just feel so strongly about the connections we have in state. So it makes it a little more difficult, quite honestly, and I hope anybody would share that with you.
And to add to that, there are a lot of boards that are reluctant, for out-of-state candidates as well. They will say to us, we really want someone in-state. So it's a balance. Yep. But California, we are different and we are special. We know that.
Okay, do we have any further questions? Mr. Otto?
Could you collectively give us the 5 most important characteristics of a successful superintendent?
See, that's a tough one. I'd start with whatever your 5 leadership characteristics are for your context, because there is no one size fits all. And I'm not ducking. I'm not sitting on a fence. But if you want to push, I think we could each probably pick our favorite, and we could throw in 2 more.
Yeah, I would say communication is the first thing. And communication in context, understanding the community, understanding who you're communicating to and with, and that connection that is so important, that cultural empathy and cultural understanding and proficiency is all part of communication.
And I would throw in a strong, it's qualitative, but a strong ethic of care.
People really want their superintendent to be visible. They want to know their superintendent's name, and they want their superintendent to know their name. And we hear that quite a bit because it's relational. Everything gets done through relationships. We hear the word transparency a lot in the leadership profile. We want someone that's transparent, but that's become ubiquitous for so many things. So we try to get people to define that. And a lot of times it will be, they tell me things first. I don't hear about it from my neighbor, or they say hello to me when they walk on the campus. So I would say that's another big one.
A leader who is focused on the improvement and support and development of their staff and and really focused on making sure that it's not just about meeting the goal, but meeting the goal, improving everyone in the process. So working together to improve everyone in work.
And just selfishly, I say I prefer to hire people that play offense and want the ball and want to go, not just play defense all day.
I have a follow-up. Thank you for that. And it's also related to what their characteristics questions, right, and the strength. So can we go a little further with that? And not to put you on the spot, but I think, and I don't want to, I don't want to universally say here's what our community is in Long Beach, but we pride ourselves in having a very diverse school district. Mm-hmm. All right, and so our commitment to excellence and equity, we're not there yet, but we're striving for that, particularly for our most underserved students and communities, which have historically not been as engaged or involved. Again, nothing unique to Long Beach, but that's what we have here. So how do we ensure that candidates, if we get 50, if we get those 50 candidates, are not positioning themselves in a way that they think reflects what Long Beach knows and wants and says? Right. And then those candidates that may self-select out and say, well, I don't have my biggest strengths are not in alignment. You talked about that out-of-state candidate that kind of sneaked in, but we may have a candidate that's local or not that may think, well, if that's what they're looking for, I may not be that. Meanwhile, another candidate's like, let me check off all the boxes to make. So can you talk about that in ensuring that commitment to the values that this community has already sort of expressed, and I think are anchored in our student outcome-focused board goals and guardrails?
So, yes, absolutely, and what you're talking about is authenticity. And so you want a person who authentically shows you who they are and make sure. So the process helps you create the conditions so that you find out those people. It's very hard. It's very easy to come up with talking points and say, look, I do this, you know. But when you actually spend time learning about that person, making those blind appraisals, when you spend time devising your interview questions in such a way that you get past the superficial and get into the actual experience of that person. Some of the things that we have done in interviews is have the person bring an artifact and talk about that artifact. And so there are ways, as you know, to really get down into understanding who is that person. And that doesn't mean who they are on the outside. You can put on, you know, a costume, but it's who they are on the inside. And that is what makes the difference between who really has in their heart the focus on equity and social justice.
Okay, so if we have no further questions, or you look like you have a question.
It depends on how we do it.
Well,
We have enough time for one more?
We have time for, do you
Okay.
have a quick one?
Yeah, it's fairly quick. First off, you guys have been great. I really appreciate the thoughtful answers that you guys have given thus far. As I go through this breakdown of your search history, obviously I was really excited to see my buddy Dr. Chris Brown on that list, right? That's my guy, even though he has a horrible choice in football teams, but that's not there. One of the things that I also recognize when it comes to the districts that you guys have supported over the past, I think this list composes the last 8 years, 9 years. All due respect, there's no district to our size. Now, there's some that are fairly close, but for the Long Beach Unified School District, this will be a bit of a stretch goal for you all. Understanding that, give me a little bit of context on how understanding that we're a little bit larger, not a little bit larger, but fairly larger than any of the districts that you've served over the past 8 years. Tell me how at least this search will maybe be a little bit different than some of the things that you'll need to do additionally in support of a district of our size, or a city of our size for that matter.
First of all, I think Long Beach now is the 5th largest in California. Am I right? I think at one point you were 4th largest. So there's only 4 other districts larger than you. So if you haven't done LA Unified, you haven't done San Diego Unified, or you haven't done Fresno. So that in and of itself, but we have done, you know, the other larger districts, Corona, Norco, Capo, Santa Ana, we have done, and they're, you know, Palm Springs, some of them are more mid-size. I think it's less about the size of the size does matter, because this is going to need to be somebody that has some experience in a larger district than just maybe 300 students. But at the same time, it's those other qualities and characteristics that help lead the system, just like what you've already had with your previous superintendents. So I think the board, you want to get that right fit, that match, more than just the size, because then you're going to limit who you look for. And we've been pretty successful. I worked in a large, you know, Capistrano, when I worked in Capistrano, I think we were the 9th largest maybe, and we were the fastest growing in California. We built 35 schools in, I believe, 10 years. One year we opened 5 schools. I was the principal of one of them. You know, in one single year we went from 3 high schools to 7 high schools. So just that movement, I have that experience of living that, and very similar again to Long Beach, where leadership development was completely done, you know, within. We had a lot of Dr. Bakers in the world, where we had great administrators that came up through the ranks, myself being one of them. So having that knowledge and experience base is important, but we haven't done anything, you know, in the other 4.
Thank you. Well, I believe we are at time, but I want to thank you for presenting. Thank you for being with us this afternoon, and we will let you know as soon as we can.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much for having us. Good luck.
We appreciate it.
Here's a gift.
So we'll take a little pause. frame our discussion, we have two choices. So do we start with an open discussion amongst the board, or do I entertain a motion and go from there?
Well, it's up to you how you want to have the discussion, but it seems to me that if you have an open discussion related to the two that you've heard amongst the board, that may frame a motion that comes forward if you have that discussion first.
Okay, so that's what we'll do. Mr. Miller.
Well, first off, I wanted to give our committee a big round of applause. I know that there were some initial intrepidations about the two firms just because we only saw them on paper, and we, in closed session, asked for an opportunity to get to know each one of them because we knew that they were going to have particular nuances, and I think we got to see those nuances today. I really appreciated the second firm's, let's call it social awareness, and saying like, hey, we're not LA, and so I'm going to show you what we are in comparison to the other firm. And so that level of awareness was appreciative. And so all things considered, I'm just talking more about the process in regards to the two firms that we have available to choose from. I think that we have two very qualified candidates at this moment. So more of a kudos to you.
Well, thank you. But we do need to discuss the two candidates. So, Dr. Benitez.
Can I make one suggestion, just
Yes.
process-wise? I'd be curious to do a quick straw poll on, do we individually have someone in mind? We don't necessarily have to share who, but can we check in just to see, do we think we have one firm here that stands out to us? And again, we don't have to go into
Right.
which one yet, but.
Right. Okay, so we'll do that. So, Member Miller, is there one that you would prefer over another, without naming?
Yes.
Okay, Dr. Benitez?
Yes.
Mr. Otto?
Yes.
Ms. Lopez?
Well, I think that they both had, good, and then they both had something that at least that I questioned. But I guess my question is, did we only had two firms after our last meeting? Nobody else came forward with anything for us?
Yeah, based upon the direction that the committee received, we reached out to the other firm that we were looking at, and they declined to submit a proposal.
Okay, thank you.
And can I say that it's important for the public to know and for us all to know that this is what we got in terms of search firms. And everybody that was a search firm had an opportunity to present or to submit. And I kind of thought that after the last meeting, we might get a third one, but we didn't. So we're here.
Yeah, the direction out of the last meeting was to reach out to the three that were recommended by the committee, and that's what we did in terms of that piece.
And prior to that, we only had two, and that's what we wound up with.
Correct.
That submitted.
That submitted, correct.
And I think also it's a good reminder that time is of the essence. And it's one of the reasons that we're meeting here in the afternoon, because in order to accommodate board members who have full-time jobs, it's very difficult to choose other days and times where we can all meet. And when we choose board meeting days, it's less disruptive to schedules. Okay, so let's see. So I think everyone kind of has a preference. So I guess the write down
your preference.
Well, don't we have to make it public? I mean, that's the whole idea here, right?
Well, we can tell them then.
Are we using a rubric? Is something to guide us in decision making?
Well, I think because we each have heard the presentations, I think we're just going to go by our own preference. And it's a tough choice because they were both very good, but I don't believe we have a rubric to use. It would just be our own individual judgment, as it were. So,
I suppose somebody can make a motion, and if there's a second, then you can have a discussion related to that particular firm and then take a vote. That's one way to decide kind of where the board is on
so
any
Member
particular-
Miller, are you ready with a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve Leadership Associates as our search firm for the superintendent search.
Second.
Discussion.
So I want to give a preference. Obviously, we don't have a formal rubric in regards to the decision, but I will say that there were 3 internal factors that I used in regards to seeing who would be the best fit. First was obviously the skill set, making sure that they both had a past precedence in serving cities/districts as complex as ours. Both of them have checked that box. The next part that was important to me was having a firm understanding of the process and making sure that the process was both equitable in regards to all parts of our city, but also making sure that they can bring us a firm talent pool that represents what our city is about, not just skewed talent pool of their internal network. I think that all of them, both firms also addressed how they would approach that. But the one difference that I think that what came to the forefront between the 2 firms, and it was in relationship to my last question, and that was the service of districts of our size. And so though I really like the concierge approach that a educational support services group could provide, I liken the selection of the 2 firms similar to the driving of a car. Now, let me use this analogy here. So for those that know me, I drive a big old truck, right? And you only need a C-class license to drive a truck. But with a truck of my size, sometimes there's blind spots. And so I would prefer somebody who has driven a truck before to drive my truck because they have a better understanding of some of the potential blind spots that could be created by a car of my size. That's the same thought process with somebody in a search firm perspective. Like with a district of our size, there are potential blind spots, potential questions that they may or may not ask, may or may not be able to address if they haven't done it before. And so with the strong experience of a leadership associates firm, I think that they would provide us with the highest success rate of not dinking our truck here, if you catch my drift.
Any further discussion? Mr. Otto?
Yeah, I was a little concerned with the second firm that they had third party doing background checks, and that I think that to make this work as well as it possibly could, let me get closer here, I'd rather have the team, and this was a limited team, there were 3 people as opposed to 4, plus they had pictures of all their backup people as well, that they have more capacity and experience, and I was worried that if they were getting background information from that it might not get equally and adequately communicated. So so that tipped me in favor of the first presenters. And by the way, the other thing was that so at least one of the people in the second group said that they'd never done a validation visit, and I think that that could be very important to do something like that. And if they didn't have the experience in doing it, they may lack the capacity to do that as well.
Dr. Benitez?
Yeah, I didn't have any major reservations with either presentations or proposals. I thought they were both good for me, and I'll echo just a few things here. I think experience and capacity. And much like the example that one of the presenters provided, not that a potential candidate for a superintendent that's coming from a very small district wouldn't have strengths, but I think there are things unique to Long Beach that require capacity to both recruit and identify potential highly qualified candidates for our district, but also capacity and experience to work in and with the communities that we want our community engagement with, to have tried and tested systems and protocols and practices with multiple districts. So I think that comes from experience. And again, no deficits here from the second firm. They said, they characterize themselves as Trader Joe and Costco, right? And I love both. But, for this search, for this position, I think we need someone with broader capacity and experience and ability to also work directly with our board, right? In case we do get the 50 candidates or we have a more robust community engagement effort, as an example. So my preference would be leadership associates as well.
Well, I just wanted to correct that. They both said that they had third parties doing background checks. So I think that's both of the firms. And I liked them both, and there was, for me, some pros and cons to both of them. So I know there's a motion on the floor, and so I think we can vote.
Yeah, I think we were very fortunate in finding two very capable search firms. There's a lot to consider. I really didn't find, as you said, Dr. Benitez, any deficits either way. But for me, I did like the fact that Leadership Associates are affiliated with CSBA, and so are we. So that was kind of a plus for me. So I think we're ready to take a vote, and I will ask our board secretary to take a roll call vote.
Member Lopez.
Aye.
Member Otto.
Aye.
President Craighead.
Aye.
Member Benitez.
Aye.
Vice President Miller.
Aye.
That is 5 votes for Leadership Associates.
With a thank you to Educational Support Service Group as well.
Yeah, a big thank you to them. They were great as well. And thank you, everyone. This concludes the special meeting, and we will see everybody back at 5 p.m.
Perfect timing. Well done.
Thank you.